Robinhood is changing the financial landscape as we know it, and it's a really exciting time to be a Hood investor. Now, they just reported their Q2 2025 earnings, and boy, did they blow it out of the park. So today we're going to be talking about a little bit about the earnings and then also about how they're changing the financial landscape for pretty much all institutions and all banks and everything that we know as of now. So I'm not going to go through every single number here. I'm going to go through some of the highlights that I liked from their earnings report. And then we're also going to talk about their to catch a token event that they just had that was just really exciting for investors and warranted a huge price jump from like $70 to $115 is I think the high. So let's get into it. So you can access this. I'll put the link in my bio so you can read through all the numbers if you want. But basically the ones that I'm going to focus on are total net revenues, millions, $989 million for this quarter, which is 45% year over year. So quarter 2 2024, they had 682 million. A year later, 45% up. That is an insane increase and really makes me excited as a shareholder that they can keep executing above 20%, 30%. That's just really exciting growth. One metric that I'm looking at is Robinhood Gold subscribers in millions. This is their premium subscription that they offer to people who pay, I think, $5 a month. So they currently have 3.48 million Robinhood Gold subscribers, which is really exciting because that's just a steady stream of income, and those people get different perks than most Robinhood users. And so, you know, overall they have 26.5 million funded customers, and then 3 million of those are paying for the gold. So there's so many more. There's 23 million people that they could potentially get onto their platform for Robinhood Gold, paying monthly subscription. And so that's really exciting to see that, you know, although we're growing at a really good rate and we already have 3.48 million gold subscribers, there's still so much more room left to go. And that doesn't even include people moving from one brokerage to another. Robinhood is really innovating at a level that we see from technology companies. And what really excites me about Robinhood moving forward is that they are positioned to create a financial system, a financial product that basically can reach most Americans if they really want to. I know there's a lot of SoFi bulls here on YouTube. Anthony Noto talks about being a one-stop shop. And although SoFi is looking really nice, I see Robinhood more as that one-stop shop for financial services. I think they're getting to the point where they want to be pretty much everywhere as a technology company. And so, for example, Meta has pretty much half the planet on their platform. I think it's like 3 billion people. Meta is pretty much touching everyone. Sounds a little inappropriate again, but they're pretty much everywhere. And so everyone has kind of an aspect of their life connected to Meta, and that's why they are one of the Mag 7 names. They're so profitable. And so I think Robinhood wants to get to that point where hopefully everyone is using one of Robinhood's products. And that's going to come through innovating like a technology company and, you know, thinking outside of the box. And we see this with their to catch a token crypto event that they just had. This is exciting for multiple reasons and not just for crypto bros. Before we go any further, I'm not a crypto bro. I own a little bit of crypto. Maybe I'll become a crypto bro in the future. I'm also not an Ethereum like nerd, so I understand base level, but if you want more of a deep dive, I recommend checking out people who understand blockchains and stuff a lot better. But I'm going to go into a base level of what they're doing. Basically, Robinhood's going to set up a blockchain for their product built on Ethereum. And so what they can do is they can tokenize stocks and assets. And this goes, this is a level of innovation that they're introducing and other companies are adopting. And which kind of begs the question, like, okay, well, are they going to lose market share because other people are stealing the idea of tokenizing assets? Yes and no. I honestly think, they have first mover advantage. So I think they're going to be one of the first players in this. I think it's going to be Hood and Coinbase, who are kind of the leaders in the crypto and tokenized assets. And we'll see other players. But Robinhood's growing nicely. And so they're building this Robinhood chain built on Ethereum so that they can basically put everything on a blockchain. Crypto, assets such as stocks, probably bonds, all of those things that we trade normally and invest in, that they want to put on the blockchain. And the reason for this, there's multiple advantages to having things on a blockchain. One is less transaction fees. Two is instantaneous settlement. And so typically when you buy a stock, sell it, you have to wait for that money to settle. With a blockchain, it would be instantaneous. And then also you could buy and sell things that are a little bit harder to have access to. So during their Robinhood event, they showed off being able to buy OpenAI, SpaceX, and I think there was one other one. But basically these private companies that most people don't have access to, they were able to kind of show that, you can buy private companies or at least tokenized assets of these private companies, and so that you have market exposure to them, which is, I think, really innovative and really awesome. I think the third or fourth advantage of having everything on the blockchain is that they can basically touch everyone. I keep saying that. Gosh. They can basically spread out their Robinhood product to everyone in the world. We saw they acquired a few companies over the past year. We can see here. So let's see here. In May, they acquired Robinhood to acquire WonderFi. So WonderFi is basically a Canadian crypto company. So they really wanted to get into the Canadian market, and so it's a lot easier to acquire a already Canadian company and then be able to, have products in Canada rather than trying to start fresh. And so they acquired WonderFi for, I think, like $200 million, which honestly is a steal. And then they also acquired Bitstamp, and Bitstamp is similar to WonderFi, but in a lot of other countries, in Europe and Asia. And so during the to catch a token, here we can see they created stock tokens for European investors. And this way the European investors can actually use Robinhood, and they would just buy tokenized assets. So we can see here, explore 200 stock tokens, including NVIDIA, Microsoft, Apple, Vanguard, S&P 500, and more. This is so that the Europeans can use Robinhood, buy the stocks they want. It's just a tokenized version, but it's pretty much the same thing. If the value of the stock goes up, they're still going to make money the same way that most people buying stocks are able to do, right? So I don't trade futures. I trade a little bit of options here and there every day. But as a long-term investor, I tend to just buy and hold, or, I look for good opportunities over the long run, like Robinhood. Now, futures is a way that you can trade stocks. And so currently they have futures for a lot of commodities, and then also like the overall market. So like S&P 500, NASDAQ, blah, blah, blah. And then they also have like silver, platinum, gold futures that you can trade. What they don't have as much, and I think Coinbase and Robinhood are starting to roll this out, but they're Robinhood just announced crypto perpetual futures. And so now you'll be able to trade assets like Bitcoin, futures, and then other probably other cryptocurrencies. Instead of having to buy, 10 Bitcoin and then sell them, I mean, you'd have to have more than $1 million to do that. You can just trade futures and you can play off of the momentum of Bitcoin. And so for people who know how to trade futures, obviously this is awesome, because this gives them an opportunity to be able to trade not just stocks, but Bitcoin and crypto. A lot of people were probably thinking of it. Robinhood was one of the first to execute, but basically we even see the U.S. government, the SEC, debuts Project Crypto to bring U.S. financial markets on chain. Okay. The Securities and Exchange Commission on Thursday debuted Project Crypto, an initiative to modernize security regulations to allow for crypto-based trading. The announcement comes amid a surge of interest in tokenization, Robinhood, the process of issuing digital representations on a blockchain of publicly traded securities. So basically what they want to do is they want to bring all financial markets on chain. And so, Robinhood was one of the first. Are they going to be the last? Probably not. But either way, it's the idea that they're innovating like no other company is. And they're debuting these products and becoming the first to do so. And, maybe they could help set it up for the SEC, for the markets. But it's just a really exciting time to be an investor, because we see all of these technological advances happening with AI and then also with the financial market. And so Robinhood is positioning themselves nicely for this turn of the financial market, basically over the next probably 5 to 10 years that we're going to see. We're going to see a shift of moving from, the normal companies like Visa and normal banks to decentralized systems where money can be sent instantaneously with little to no fee on the blockchain. Another thing that I personally love and I kind of want to get is a Robinhood Gold card. You get 3% cash back on pretty much all of the things that you buy. And so you can roll that straight into the Robinhood markets. And if you think about it, it's just like an infinite money glitch for them. You get them on the credit card. They use the credit card, they pay it off, they get rewards, they roll it right back into Robinhood. Boom. If they're trading with that money, if they're buying stocks and investing, Robinhood's profiting off of those assets and the transactions. It's just like such a good idea, such a smart idea for them. They rolled out the Robinhood chain to Europe. They started in Europe because that's one of the markets that they are yet to be involved in, and now they're finally involved in Europe and soon in Canada once the WonderFi acquisition goes through. So coming soon, the Robinhood chain will be everywhere. And so the SEC wanting to put everything on chain is just even more bullish for Robinhood, because then they'll have the permission to do so here in America. Everything will just kind of flow. Like, there's so many tailwinds for this company. So I am an investor in Robinhood, and it's one of my largest positions. Granted, my portfolio isn't huge. I have a lot of confidence that they'll be able to execute. And so a lot of people say, is it a cyclical business? If we go into a bear market, is the share price going to go down? Am I going to lose money? And yes, that could be true. But they continue to execute even in bear markets. And so, I was watching Tanner with Future Investing, and he actually brought up a good point, is that when the market takes a dump and Robinhood gets sold off, what they do is they just buy back their stock at the dip and let it ride back up when we start to get a bit more bullish. When you have a company built by a bunch of traders, I think, you can have confidence that they know what to do during a dip. And we see this in their earnings statement. If we scroll down here, they actually talk about a buyback program, which is really cool. So let's look at that real quick. So right here, they talk about buying back shares. And so, in quarter two, we had the huge April dip and then also the huge April tariff rise. And so it said in quarter two, we returned 124 million to shareholders by repurchasing $3 million of our shares. And over the past 12 months, we returned 700 million by repurchasing 21 million shares. And so in quarter two, they had an insane dip that they could have bought. And I'm assuming they bought all the way down, all the way up, whatever. It was like $30 is what it got to on April 6th or 7th or whatever. And so, they have a $1 billion share buyback program. And I think they have a $1.5 billion share buyback program. And so they're still sitting on $800 million that they have to be able to buy back shares. And so, if we do have a dip and Robinhood's share price goes down because of the whole overall market, then you can be assured that they're going to buy the dip probably and then let it ride back up. And that return is returned to the shareholder. With less shares on the market, the value goes up, and then you're seeing a better investment on your money. So thank you, Tanner, for bringing that point. But like I said, the company is built by active traders. And so I think they're going to be able to, position themselves nicely for a market downturn. The great thing is when the market goes super bullish, like it was over the past quarter, they make a ton of money and they're able to kind of keep that money to themselves and deploy when, they have a good opportunity, either to acquire other companies, build new products, or buy back their shares. Let's look at the share price. We've seen a huge increase in value over the past few weeks and months, and a lot of it starting over here was driven by the idea that we could get into the S&P 500. Are we going to be able to get into the S&P 500? I'm not sure. The S&P committee has put in Datadog, and they put in XYZ or Block over Robinhood, and I personally think that's ridiculous because Robinhood is executing at different levels. And so, if you think about it, one day Robinhood could be a Mag 7 name. At that point, it'd be Mag 10 or whatever. But, Robinhood could be a $1 trillion company, and they would have no choice but to put Robinhood in the S&P 500. Maybe that's too bullish of me to say, but I'm a bullish person, and I think that they could get to that point. And so the S&P 500 inclusion will probably have to happen. But, the S&P 500 also likes kind of more safer investments, and they might look at Robinhood and think of it as a cyclical company. And so, we'll have to see. Do I think they're going to get into the S&P 500? Maybe eventually. I don't know if it's going to happen soon. But they put in Coinbase, and Coinbase, I would argue, is even more cyclical and volatile than Robinhood. And so why wouldn't they put Robinhood in the S&P 500, which is more exposure to crypto? I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me, but whatever. If the overall market takes a little bit of a dip over these next 2 months, which historically it does in August and September, it tends to have a pullback. If we have that, then yes, I do think that Robinhood will get to probably 90 or even 85. I could see it going back down to that range. If you bought at 115, you might be holding the bag, but over the next 5 years, it might not matter. I personally am of the opinion that we can buy whenever. And so if it dips down to 85 or 90, I'll probably continue to buy. And then I just love Robinhood, so I'll probably continue to buy all the way up. I don't really want to stop because I don't have a full position that I'm happy with built out, and so I'm just going to keep buying. and they're at an $88 billion market cap, which, you could argue has gone up quite a bit. It's a little bit inflated because, they make $4 billion a year, an $88 billion market cap, but Wall Street kind of sees the potential in their technology and their innovation. They see the potential for a very monumental company in America. And so in the next 5 to 10 years, I think that will be trading more towards a 500 to, $600 billion market cap. And they'll be a pivotal player in the American financial system. And then, another tailwind is that the older generation of investors, they're getting to the point where they might start passing their wealth down to their children. And their children are people like us who are typically on these brokerages like Robinhood. And so basically there will be a wealth transfer of money going from boomers to Gen X to millennials and Gen Z, whatever. So there's just too much. There's too much bullishness going on, and I'm just really excited about it. And this also makes me excited for Coinbase. I also have a small position in Coinbase because I see the potential in the financial system really taking a huge makeover, and Hood and Coinbase basically being the leaders in deploying all of that blockchain goodness and that crypto goodness and tokenizing stocks. And so it is an exciting time to be an investor. Just remember, this is not financial advice. This is my opinion, but I do think Robinhood will continue to perform and execute. And if it takes a dip, I'm buying. If it keeps going up, I'll probably keep buying if I have money, that is, after buying all this stuff. So I'm really excited about these Q2 numbers. If you wanted to go into more detail, I'll include the link in the caption below that you'll be able to check out and kind of go through the numbers yourself. I would definitely recommend researching a bit more, doing your own due diligence if you plan on investing. Don't just blindly trust me or any other YouTuber. I definitely recommend looking into the Robinhood product, looking into, the numbers. The numbers don't lie. 45% growth. It's amazing. Thank you guys for watching, and don't be afraid to like and subscribe. I don't bite. And we'll see you in the next video. All right.